Hello and welcome to the first episode of the We Ball podcast. I'm Luke Krumich. Joining me is Tyler DeSena. He's my co-host. He's my buddy. He's my pal. Tyler, how we doing?
Absolutely great. We've been working on this for so long. It's been months, and it feels great to finally get started. I feel great. Let's get this thing going.
Dude, it's been like a year. Let's be honest. We carried this longer than mothers carry their children in the womb. But yeah, let's get right into it because we had a nice little NFL opening weekend that we have to talk about. So we're gonna start off here with the most recent game, the Monday Night Football game. Tyler, give me your thoughts on Geno Smith and the Seahawks absolutely embarrassing Russell Wilson.
I mean, it's great when you get to see the greatest quarterback, in Seattle Seahawks history take on Russell Wilson. So that's pretty cool. But no, Geno played out of his mind, especially in that first half. He was making Russell Wilson-esque plays like that one to, I believe it was Will Dissly for a touchdown. He was going crazy. It's awesome to see. Geno has, not gotten another chance really since New York. And finally, he has a team that, even though they have Drew Lock on the roster and things like that, this is Geno's team for the year. And he just proved it by going out, winning in prime time against a team who a lot of people think might compete for a Super Bowl.
Okay, but can we talk about the quote that he said after the game? People wrote me off, but I ain't wrote back. So then you're written off. Like, am I tripping, or does that not make sense?
I mean, I get what he was saying. I think he was just implying that, he didn't listen to it. But, I mean, I think you're looking a little bit too much into it. I'm not going to lie.
Nah, I think that Geno messed up his words. It's not what he is written off because he just said he was written off because he didn't write back. You should respond to your critics if you're trying to not be written off. You know what I'm saying? Or am I, going crazy?
Yeah, but you got to respond with your actions, not, just words. And he did that tonight. He wrote back tonight. Or last night.
Tonight? Yeah, all right. And this is coming out on Wednesday, so you're really gonna look like a fool. Let's move on because Russ, that was just that was just poor coaching. And I get it, it's Hackett's first game, but the Broncos have never had good time management. They need to hire a time management coach. You know what I'm saying? They've just never had good time management since Peyton Manning left.
I don't even know how to describe it. They were making just absurd decisions. They waited 40 seconds to take a timeout, and they had 3 of them, so there was no reason to wait. And Russell Wilson obviously was not fantastic either. The running game, I think both running backs fumbled. It was really just an off night for a team that had to go into Seattle. They knew the importance of this game, and it just seemed that they didn't live up to it because it was just so much for them to bear.
So we're going to move on to the Chiefs versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals are atrocious.
It was absolutely awful. I mean, we knew that they were missing multiple starters on defense. I think Marcus Golden didn't play. That's the big one that's coming to mind for some reason. JJ Watt was out as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, Patrick Mahomes just was shredding them left and right. I mean, if you ask Pro Football Focus, they'll say he didn't. But he had 5 touchdowns and was just dotting them up. And I mean, it just proves that even without Tyreek and without the weaponry that he once had, he's still Patrick Mahomes. Everyone questioned, is he still the best quarterback in the league? Is Justin Herbert better than him? Is Josh Allen better than him? No, this is the guy that you still got to go through if you're going to go win a title.
Yeah. I get it, right? You want to try and do something without a few offensive starters, but you blitz Patrick Mahomes more than half of the game for the first time ever in his career. And then he goes and throws 4 touchdowns against the blitz alone. That's just
exactly.
It's ridiculous. It's insane. And none of them were from set plays.
Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire caught, 2 touchdown passes?
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Obviously, Kelsey caught one. I'm trying to think of who caught the other 2, but you go.
We're going to talk a little bit about the Chargers and the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the craziest quarterback performances we've seen of the week. I mean, the big 3 of quarterbacks balled out. Usually you see a quarterback list and the top 3 guys are Mahomes, Allen, Herbert in any order. And Herbert was just balling. I mean, I looked it over on my TikTok. There were 3 or 4 throws that I'm not sure there's another guy in the NFL that can hit these. And he's going into his 3rd year. I mean, in a potential year where he could win the MVP. He's finally got the team around him. They have, finally a good defense. They got J.C. Jackson, who didn't play, Khalil Mack, Sebastian Joseph Day, a lot of major additions on that defense who are going to make plays for them. So I'm expecting the Chargers to do great, and they obviously did great on Sunday.
I mean, I just want to talk about Keenan Allen because he's not getting enough love for his performance this week. He was single-handedly dismantling that team. And then obviously he goes out with the hamstring, so hoping for a speedy recovery so he could get back and Herbert can have his number one weapon back. But Mike Williams had one target, literally one target, and
Yeah, and Keenan Allen was a
Herbert still
contested
recovered.
catch guy. Keenan Allen was a contested catch guy too, which was the crazy part. Was Herbert was like rolling out, making crazy throws, and all those throws last year were going to Mike Williams, and all of them this time were going to Keenan Allen. And everyone was calling Keenan Allen in the offseason saying he might not be the best receiver on this team. Mike Williams is taking his job. This team might need another receiver for when Keenan Allen inevitably falls off. And he definitely has not fallen off, because even though he wasn't getting like crazy separation every play, he was making those one-on-one jump ball catches, contested catches that we didn't really expect from him. Yeah, moving on, the Cowboys game. The Cowboys are in absolute shambles. They have, just completely fallen off the rails. There's not been many seasons that have deteriorated quicker than them. Dak got hurt. We saw just like injury after injury. They've already had some Tyron Smith, but now it just seems like this is not a team that's even going to be competing in a really weaker division, even though they've got the Eagles, who obviously are a strong team. It's fallen off. Dak, CeeDee Lamb did not perform. He was dropping passes left and right. This is not the team that we expected, and now they're even more injured.
And speaking of a weak division, everyone else in that division won. And want to know who one of those teams is? My New York Football Giants, baby. Brian Dable, absolute goat. He was so hyped on the sideline. I was having so much fun with that. It was like, dude, that game was so much fun to watch. I was concussed during that, and I yelled so hard that I got dizzy and had to sit back down.
Oh no!
So yeah, it wasn't a fun time for me, but it was fun to watch my boys get a win. Saquon's like all the way back, so I'm excited for this year for the Giants. I don't think we're going to be like winning the division, but I think we might come out of the gate pretty hot. So
yeah, the fact that you were able to win games with Daniel Jones, which was the real question. Brian Dable came in here and it was like, is he going to turn Daniel Jones into Josh Allen? Well, we all know that's not going to happen. But we know that now you can win games with Daniel Jones as your quarterback, especially when you're able to run with Saquon for 160 yards?
164, baby. Next game on the docket. Let's keep it in the division. What the hell, Jaguars? How do you lose that game? First of all, the Commanders, how do you blow that game for where the Jaguars can come back? But that was just like battle of the bad. Like that was the toilet bowl in my mind. That was one of the worst games of football I ever watched. But Jahan Dotson's got that dog in him. People were really doubting Jahan Dotson, and my boy showed out. So I'm excited about that for the Commanders, but not anything else. Literally nothing else.
No, Carson Wentz is not him. I mean, he had an okay game, but whenever you have to throw, I think it was 40 plus times with Carson Wentz and it doesn't go horrendous, that's the outlier game. And that's what you had today. If Carson Wentz goes against, any of these top flight teams that Washington's going to have to beat, if they're going to make the playoffs, it is not going to go as well as it did on Sunday. And I mean, even Jacksonville, they were playing awful. We saw, James Robinson had a couple touchdowns, but Travis Etienne was not who we expected him to be coming back. And overall, the receiving core isn't very good. Trevor Lawrence was feeling a lot of pressure. That offensive line does not look great. Overall, just there's not a lot to be happy about in Jacksonville. But I mean, hey, at least Urban Meyer's gone.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest plus for them. Speaking of people who are gone, Devontae Adams is not a Green Bay Packer anymore, and they looked really bad. Really bad.
It was awful. Aaron Rodgers was not great. He was getting, feeling pressure left and right. He had a pick in a division game for the first time in 3 years now, which is crazy. The fact that he hadn't been throwing them. But what is that stat? And Justin Jefferson, if you want to talk about how the Packers were playing on defense, he had a great game, don't get me wrong, but the amount of coverage busts, they were letting this guy go for 60 on several different plays. I don't understand how you see a number one receiver on the field in Justin Jefferson and just think, hey, we're going to let him just walk by our defenders, even though we have Jair Alexander, who's the second best corner in the NFL.
Yeah, they put Jair on him for a total of 8 plays, and one of them, Jair got burnt. The rest, Jair was doing fine with him in stride. And of course, you're an elite corner. So anytime you get, a play busted, it's going to be everywhere. And that's what happened to Jair today.
If you want to talk about teams that are in shambles along with the Green Bay Packers, the San Francisco 49ers had to play in literally a swimming pool, and my Trey Lance agenda for him being a dark horse MVP candidate is also in shambles. I mean, he was not great. He was throwing in, pouring rain, but Justin Fields decided that he was going to throw all over the 49ers in the pouring rain and then do a slip and slide at the end, which is one of the coolest videos I've ever seen.
That video is so hard.
It is effortlessly hard.
Video of the year. Like,
you got video of the year in week 1. I think we peaked as, a football league in week 1. Peaked as a society, 100%. Justin Fields had the coolest video we've seen.
Yeah, they didn't even really use like Mooney that much, and they were moving the ball relatively well. I know Montgomery didn't have the game a lot of people thought he was going to have, but they were moving the ball well. And another team,
19 points when you're throwing in a monsoon is like not bad at all. I mean, they were playing in just torrential downpour, and they had 19 points, which isn't bad.
There was a point where you could see water on the camera face.
Oh yeah, it was bad. You couldn't even see the field towards the end of the game. The field itself was like you couldn't even tell where the sidelines were. It was all just like mixture of white and green. It was awful.
It was really not fun. And another game that was awful to watch was the Colts versus the Texans. Matty Ice, what happened, dog? What's going on down there? I mean, yeah, you have JT, so he's still gonna get yardage, and Michael Pittman balled out too. But that was just not a good team game. And I know you don't have Shaq Leonard, but you gotta show up better than that week 1. And I know week 1's been a problem for the Colts, but come on, guys. Like, really? That was like depressing.
The problem with the Colts is that, I mean, you have Michael Pittman, but you also have like Alec Pierce. You have like this same like model of receiver. And then there's Paris Campbell, who like isn't necessary. Like every year it's like Paris Campbell's going to ball out this year, and he just, doesn't, because he either gets hurt or doesn't play enough. They need like a true like number 2 or maybe even number 1 weapon to go alongside Michael Pittman as a receiver. You have Matt Ryan just moving around the pocket for days, like he's running away from pressure, evading left and right, and then he just puts a dot on Alec Pierce in the back of the end zone, and what happens? He drops it. Like, Matt Ryan did not play great, but he also had absolutely no help.
Let's talk just a little bit, because it's getting to the point where who even cares about the Jets? That was horrible. I know Joe Flacco's their quarterback right now, but Joe, it's your former team. You got to at least put up like a little bit of fight. Like, I know you're old, but like, put on your diapers and like get out there, dog, and really go for it. But he just didn't go for it.
And I mean, apparently the Jets decided to go for it. He threw the ball like 60 times. You have like 300-year-old Joe Flacco, and you're throwing the ball 60 times against the Ravens, who were not running the ball well and were giving you solid field position, and you just continued to throw for no reason. 60 pass attempts.
37 of 59 for 307 yards, a touchdown and a pick. That stat line, if you left out that front part, 307, a touchdown and a pick for Joe Flacco sounds incredible. And then you realize, oh, this man threw the ball 60 times. Okay.
He had like 5 yards per attempt.
Why? Dude, it was so bad. It was like hard to watch. Like, I was watching Red Zone, every time it would come on, I'd be like, dude, skip, please move to the next.
The first half, you just didn't hear anything about if you weren't like watching the game intently, until like Lamar made a crazy play scrambling out of the pocket, and then he threw the touchdown to Bateman. Those are like the only 2 plays, if you were not watching the game, that you saw from it at all.
What's going on with the Panthers?
Apparently not Baker Mayfield messing up the Browns. That did not go the way we planned. I was saying all along that I did not think Jacoby Brissett was good enough to be able to lead the Browns to a win over the Panthers, but somehow on the back of, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett just destroying Ike Ekwonu, they were able to get that win. They had to match that man up in his first real NFL game, not preseason, against Myles Garrett, who is maybe the best pass rusher in the entire league. And they had to put him up against the quarterback that he was stuck playing with for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So it was already bad. And then they put him up against a rookie tackle. I feel so bad for Ike Ekwonu.
Dude, Robbie Anderson having 8 catches is like an offensive scheme problem.
Yeah, how is
You know what
your
I'm
deep
saying?
threat wide receiver catching the ball 8 times?
Like I get it, he had 100 yards. It was a good game for Robbie Anderson, but why? Like
Those
that's
targets
Matt
can be going
Rule.
to DJ Moore and Christian
Yeah,
McCaffrey all
yeah.
day.
Matt Rule, like Brissett didn't carry them to that win. Matt Rule carried the Browns to that win.
He was just
Matt
not.
Matt Rule won that game for them.
Matt
Rule
Rule's
should
in
have
his
been somewhere
bag
on
for
the
the
field.
Browns. It's in his bag for the Browns.
Matt Rule's going to be coaching Nebraska in 2 weeks. Like
He
it's
might
bad,
be at
dude.
this rate.
He's a bad coach. I remember how mad Giants fans were that we missed out on him. We got Joe Judge, which didn't work either. But if we would have gotten Matt Rule, New York would have burnt down. Like this man is bad. He was supposed to be like the prodigal son of New York football, and he's just bad at coaching.
Yeah,
And it's coaching malpractice. He's got Ben McAdoo as his offensive coordinator, who I don't even like saying the name Ben McAdoo, and I've said it 3 times in this episode, and it makes me mad.
Ben McAdoo, man, the Giants legend, and now he's leading this Baker Mayfield offense. It's a Giants what if, I think, is the what is going on with the Panthers. It's just a Giants what if.
Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, no Saquon Barkley, but you have Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold instead. You get both of them, the number 1 and 3 picks in that draft, and neither of them are good.
I'm so glad we didn't take a quarterback that we were supposed to take. Like if we would have taken Quinn, it would have been fine. But I'm so glad we didn't take a quarterback. Like I know it was probably not the right choice to take a running back at 2, but I'm so glad we didn't, because if we would have ended up with one of those guys, I would have been in shambles. Like I'd rather have Daniel Jones than those 2 guys.
Oh, definitely. And at least you have that this is the year that you're going to figure out whether Daniel Jones is the guy or not, even though I think you should have known at some point.
Guys are not the guy.
Yeah.
We're going to move on. Bengals, Steelers. I don't know what I watched, but I liked it because I don't like Joe Burrow. So
was it football is the real question. I mean,
I believe it's pronounced football, what they were playing.
When you put Mitch Trubisky and Joe Burrow on the same field and Mitch Trubisky is the better quarterback, you know that the game you're watching is not going to be good. Who are you hiding from?
I'm laughing.
It's crazy that Mitch Trubisky outplayed Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had 5 turnovers and they still almost won the game, but they decided that they were just going to miss field goals left and right. This is the kind of game where people bring up the ninja tweet. I don't know how kickers miss kicks.
Okay. My favorite part is that 45 minutes after the game, Joe Burrow's sitting there staring at a wall in full uniform, haven't showered, just staring there because he's so mad at himself. And then he's going to go out next week. I don't even know who they play, but he's going to I hope this man has another bad performance just so I can post that tweet against the Cowboys. Oh my God. I hope they lose I've never said these words before. I hope the Cowboys win this game. Oh my God.
If they win and we have to see Joe Burrow, it's going to be like Joe Burrow has been here for 3 weeks, has not showered, and the Bengals are now looking for a new quarterback because theirs did not come home on the flight and has been sitting in the stadium.
Jerry Jones is giving an eviction notice to Joe Burrow, who's just been sitting in the away locker room for 3 weeks.
He's making food in there and stuff. He's just set up a whole kitchen only in the locker room.
He's using Siri to Grubhub stuff just so that he doesn't have to move his eyes off of the one spot on the wall where he's remembering all the picks he threw to the Cowboys defense.
Micah Parsons is just playing on a spinning image in his head just over and over and over again.
Every day, Micah Parsons comes in and just looks at him and goes, ha ha, and just walks away.
Walks out immediately.
That's it. That's the only human interaction Joe Burrow is going to get for 3 weeks after he loses to the Cowboys. Oh my God.
He's just a hermit now.
He's a hermit. He probably, he stops smoking cigars and dressing like Cam Newton. He just comes to in a white
Cam Newton.
in a white t-shirt and shorts for the rest of the year. I don't care how cold it is. It's all Joe Burrow is gonna wear because he's not He's not having a good opening week to the season. I'm sure
Well, you
they'll
know
turn
who?
it around.
Well, they might, but you know which 2020 quarterback had an iffy opening to the season, but I'm going to call it good because it's my team.
Jake
Tua and the
Luton.
Miami Tua and the Miami Dolphins beat the Patriots 20-7, and I have to say that quarterback performance made me very sad. Watching the all 22 from that is painful. I can't watch Tyreek Hill get open, and he should have had like 250, 300 yards. And Tua is just bouncing balls into the dirt. And we have to make up conspiracies that the ball was batted down at the line. I can't deal with this.
Bro, I don't know what you're talking about. First of all, Mac Jones had back spasms, so you can't count the win. Irrelevant, doesn't count. And second of all, I'm pretty sure Tua is the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. So
Okay,
I don't
but
want.
here's the main thing. This was the game where Mac Jones and Tua were the embodiment of the meme that says, these women are having a mid-off. That was literally this game. Tua and Mac Jones put on one of the worst displays of quarterbacking, and Mitch Trubisky and Joe Burrow in the same weekend combined for like 6 turnovers, and Mac Jones and Tua were still terrible enough that
And
I'm
Joe
talking about
Flacco
them
threw
right
the
now.
ball 60 times in the same week.
This week in quarterbacking, you had the highs of Allen, Mahomes, and Herbert, and then your bad performances of Tua, Mac Jones, Joe Burrow, and Joe Flacco throwing
And
a
Carson
combined
Wentz.
like 15 turnovers and like just terrible football to watch.
This is like this week in the NFL has just explained the NFL. Like one of the best quarterback performances was Geno Smith. The year is 2022. What reality are we living in right now?
Your best.
What happened?
Why are we having a week where Joe Flacco and Geno Smith are playing, and the one that's playing for the Jets is Joe Flacco? What is going on? I have no clue what this week was. Who are these quarterbacks, and why is it 2013 again?
The edge, I just can't. Like I don't know what to. The NFL has been such a consistent thing, and now like just stuff just kind of happens, and I don't know what's going. Like I used to be able, as like a child, to follow NFL storylines. There are too many NFL storylines for me to follow as a grown adult. I'm 18. I'm a legal adult, and I can't follow the NFL storylines. There's just too many.
I was 5, and there were things just going on like Tom Brady threw touchdowns, Drew Brees threw touchdowns, and that was it. And now it's like Geno Smith is playing in place of Russell Wilson and beats Russell Wilson his return home. And Joe Flacco is throwing 300 passes at age 4 million. And like what I don't understand what the league is anymore. Week 1, this is the problem with week 1. Throw it out the window. These games should not count.
This doesn't count. This is just preseason.
This is the
week 4.
preseason. Yeah. This is what happens when you don't give these guys a full game to perform.
Dude, it's so bad. We should move on. Let's move on to our hot take segment brought to you by Chalkboard, where you can join our community, drop your hot takes, and hear them on the podcast. Obviously, we're going to do, shout outs for people in the group. Drop a good hot take. We both like it, Who knows? You might be a reoccurring person on this podcast. So we're going to start off here with Deval WRX, who says Tua is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL this year, wins playoff game with Dolphins.
Saying that Tua is going to be a top 10 quarterback this year, after seeing what you saw on Sunday, where he had, 33 pass attempts, and they were throwing at the end of the game to try to get his value and his confidence up because he just was not playing well at all. That is not a guy who is going to be a top 10 quarterback. I mean, I've said before, numbers 10 through 12 on a year-to-year basis can change because that's just like hitting the lottery with how good your team is. But there is no being a top 10 quarterback and Tua in the same sentence this year. Like it's clear that this is what's holding the team back and not what's propelling them forward. And it's just, as a Dolphins fan, sometimes very hard to watch.
Okay, so my favorite part of this hot take is this is my best friend Dan, and I was like, "Yo, drop some hot takes. I know you want to talk about your Dolphins so bad." And my buddy's who is my co-host is a Dolphins fan. He goes, "Bet." I really believe this one, and it's not even that wild. And then drops that. I'm like, bro, I'm a Bama fan, but come on. What are we doing here?
You have a
Tua's not
Bama
top
fan
10.
and a Dolphins fan in the same podcast, and neither of them believe Tua is going to be top 10. You know that what's going on in Miami is not good at the
I
quarterback
don't
position.
think he's going to be like horrible. I think it's week 1 and Joe Flacco threw the ball 60 times. Stuff happens. And Russell Wilson looked bad. Matt Stafford, like a lot of people looked bad this week. But I
Yes.
don't think Tua is going to be top 10. Like, come on, dog.
10 is crazy. There is another hot take, though, about quarterbacks that is quite interesting. And I have to say, who are you taking before I say this? Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow?
All right. I put out a tweet when this draft was coming up that said Tua and Herbert 1, 2, and then Burrow's 4 with Jake Luton right behind, or Burrow's 3 with Jake Luton right behind him. I stand by Herbert is better than Burrow. So let me hear this hot take.
This guy says, like both of us believe, Justin Herbert over Joe Burrow by a mile. I think it's clear, especially after what we saw on Sunday, that Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert are not in the same stratosphere. And I'm going to hear it time and time again. Justin Herbert doesn't have any playoff wins. Justin Herbert had the worst defense in the entire NFL last year because there was nobody on the team who could stop the run. And he had like a 4th and 15 to save his season, and he put the ball on the money in the back of the end zone. I don't care. This is a top 3 quarterback, and we're talking about Joe Burrow, who's like bottom of the top 10. This is not close, in my opinion.
David Ballantyne. I don't know what a mile is for you, but for me, it's a city mile, and it takes a long time to get there because they're not close. I don't think Burrow's top 10. I mean, he's probably 11. I put Dak
I have him
over
at 9. I have him at 9.
I mean, like, there's just right now. After what I just saw, I know it's week 1, and I know weird stuff happens week 1. It's it's not real. Nothing's real week 1, but I can't say that Joe Burrow is anywhere close. Moving on to our next hot take. Ben Shoop says the Bills won't punt the next 2 games. Keep the streak going. Well,
We know the truth. We know what's happening. They're definitely punting at least once against the Dolphins. I'm sorry. This game is in Miami. You're playing against a great defense. This is entirely biased. You're punting at least once unless Josh Allen throws 5 picks. So I am saying that this is not I'm not allowing all of this Buffalo Bills fandom to interfere with the fact that is the Miami Dolphins dominating against Buffalo.
All right. Not going to happen, first of all. Second of all, I don't think this streak keeps going for 2 more weeks. That's a little much. However, I mean, they might not punt against the Titans. The Titans defense didn't look all that great against the Giants. I mean, they made some plays, but Daniel Jones didn't actually look that bad. He had 1 bad mistake. He got chewed out for it. They lit up 164 rushing yards to Saquon alone, and then the Giants had 3 other people who had 25-plus rushing yards. So, well over 200 rushing yards allowed. Sterling Shepard's dotting you up for 71 yards on 2 catches. You can't really allow that when Richie James has 60 yards on 5 catches. How are you going to stop the Bills when you could barely stop the Giants when they weren't hurting themselves?
And also, they didn't even play Kadarius Toney, the most one of the most dangerous weapons in the entire NFL.
And Robinson got hurt very early.
Yeah, they have 2 of the most dangerous after the catch guys in the entire league, and they didn't play them. So what is telling me that Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs are going to somehow be clamped by that Titans defense?
Yeah, I mean, they could not have either of those guys, and I'd still be like, all right, they might punt twice.
Yeah, exactly. And Josh Allen's a freak, so.
Yeah, he's not real.
Yeah, I love that Mina Kimes tweet where it says the Bills figured it out. They had to draft an actual Buffalo as their quarterback.
I mean, fair. He's not a human being. I refuse to believe it.
So the craziest hot take that we saw on our chalkboard came from none other than the @Saquon Barkley. This is a new app you guys should definitely hop on. You can get @ like Saquon Barkley and talk with us about sports. Is that playoff Eli eclipses playoff Aaron Rodgers? Tell me what you think of that.
I mean, okay, I'm biased, but Eli Manning literally had the greatest postseason of any quarterback ever. And then he had another top 7 quarterback performance of all time. So, like, I mean, it's Eli, and like by a good amount.
I
Even
don't know.
538 did a breakdown that said clutchness went to Eli when it came to the playoffs, and Rodgers is one of the most clutch of all times. But in the playoffs, Eli's way more clutch. So Eli's my quarterback. I love Eli Manning, so I'm gonna take Eli here. Um, not just in bias, but also in like fact. This is, I believe this to be true.
I mean, at the end of the day, what matters is rings. And which guy has more rings? It's that simple. I'm just saying, Eli Manning, his clutch moments in those playoffs, you might be able
Numbers.
to take him over Aaron Rodgers. But I mean,
Might.
I'm obviously not taking him over Aaron Rodgers as just quarterbacks. But when it
Yeah,
comes to
no.
like in the playoffs, the guy with the more success and the guy that isn't just getting, destroyed by the 49ers every year, I might take him.
Yeah, I'm going to take the guy who beat the 49ers in like the fog bowl. Like you couldn't see anything in that game. He was covered in mud, dirt. He got thrown around. He's still winning that football game. I'm taking Eli, and it's not playoffs alone. It is not a question for me.
Lastly, I think that we should look ahead at what each of our games of the week are. I think that this one is pretty easy. Luke has a different opinion, but I'm taking the Saints and Bucks. These two teams have been talked about all offseason. Jameis Winston's been hyped up. He obviously did not have a great divisional performance against the Falcons, but these are the two teams that are going to be the front runners to win this division. The Saints always have the Bucks number every single time they play, and I think that means this is going to be a fun matchup and, maybe a playoff matchup in the future. We've seen it happen before. It might happen again.
Dog, you did not just say that this is going to be a playoff matchup.
What do you mean? It's happened before. And what is stopping
Okay.
Jameis Winston from playing like Drew Brees when his arm literally fell off?
Him being Jameis Winston.
Okay.
End of sentence. And just
this is post LASIK Jameis.
Doesn't matter. He said his
This
everything.
Is FSU legend Jameis Winston.
It's not. Did you see the other day that Red Lobster and Jameis Winston were both trending at the same time? And someone was like, please let this be related. Please let this be related.
Well, it's going to be RIP Bucks and Jameis trending in the same sentence.
No, the Buccaneers are going to win this game. Dude, I seriously don't believe that you're trying to hype this game up. I just think this is a bad slate of games, and you felt the need to pick it.
All right, fine. What's your game?
Chargers Chiefs.
Fine. All right.
Do I have to say anything else? Divisional matchup.
So.
2 of the top 3 quarterbacks. Some of the best weapons in the NFL. I don't think Keenan Allen's going to be able to go, so maybe not. One of the best defenses in the NFL if J.C. Jackson plays. This man's yawning at the Chiefs and Chargers. I was yawning at the Bucks versus the Saints. Come on, people. You know who's right here. Game of the week, Chargers, Chiefs. Gonna be a lot closer than people think. I got the Chargers.
I mean, I'm taking the Chargers too, just because Justin Herbert's that dude. And the Chargers finally have defense, like we said earlier. So I understand it. I just think
if J.C. Jackson doesn't play, I'm a little hesitant. But
I'm kind of hoping that like all of the defensive players for both teams don't play, just so this game can be a repeat of Rams Chiefs from like last whatever that was the time. What was that, 2018? I want that reincarnated into the Chargers and the Chiefs, just 54-51 in prime time. The game just feels like it's going on forever because every team is scoring every 5 seconds. Bring me that matchup. Well, I think it's about time that we wrap this up. I think we covered the hot takes. We covered some games of the week, and we covered really just about everything from last week. It's going to be another exciting week in the NFL and in football in general. I'm Tyler DeSena at DeSena Sports, and this is Luke at Krumich Sports, signing out from Weeball. See you guys next time.